planned for this second part of the event, all about the marketplaces that are being put together by digital banks or neobanks. We've got three of the biggest of those banks featured, beginning with Revolut and moving on then to Tandem and Starling. My name's Ryan Weeks. I'm the editor of the news site that AltFi run, which hopefully many of you know. And with me I've got James Gibson, who leads Revolut for Business. So James, perhaps you could introduce yourself and introduce your role at the company.
Hi everyone. Hello. My name is James Gibson. I am the product owner for insurance at Revolut, and I also lead business development work on our business product specifically.
And James, I wouldn't ordinarily bring a notepad to a session like this, but obviously Revolut have got so much going on that it's very difficult to keep tabs on it all. So I have today. You have to forgive me. I wanted to begin by asking you sort of how do you define Revolut at the moment? Because I know the brand, the messaging has changed a little bit over the years. I think most recently it was beyond banking. How do you see it at the moment?
So I think the best way of describing Revolut is it's a global money app. And it's global in the sense that you can go around the world, spend on your card, your Visa or MasterCard. We issue both now. And you get the interbank exchange rate. But it's also increasingly a global bank account in the sense that we give you account details in multiple jurisdictions. So if you're moving between Paris and London, we give you Euro account details and we give you UK account details as well. And we're rolling out a suite of sort of ancillary products which support that global aspect as well. So I think the best way of describing it is it's a global money app which supports a global lifestyle.
Okay, great. And just for those that aren't familiar, I suppose, could you give us a definition for marketplace, such as you see it in this space?
Yeah, so I think people use marketplace a lot, particularly within this kind of community, and I think it can mean a lot of different things. I think at one end of the spectrum, it can mean a kind of a shelf where you can go and select different products, and it's a complete an easy way for you to be able to use technology basically to select between lots of different products. The other end of the spectrum is much more a place where specific products are promoted. So you might have one insurance product that you push, and I think people use marketplace to mean kind of a variety of things, and I think that's fine. At Revolut, we probably wouldn't describe ourselves at the moment as a marketplace because unlike some of our competitors, we're very much pushing specific products, which we think are great, which we've developed with our partners to do. We're not giving kind of customers a large choice of lots of different products. We're not doing the kind of that kind of marketplace approach.
In some ways, you have a curated marketplace rather than being a marketplace. Is that fair?
Yeah, so I think that's probably a good way of describing it. The way that we've tried to approach the certain products is we identify what the problem is to start off with, and often that's high fees and difficult to buy a particular product, and we then work backwards from there about how best we can improve on that situation. And for us, in a lot of places where we've launched products, that has been to actually create a new product. So if you take our insurance product, for example, we identified a pain point, which is that people often don't want to tie themselves into an annual insurance contract. They want something more flexible that leverages the technology they have in their pocket. And so we launched a pay-per-day travel insurance product, which uses geolocation to work out where you are in the world and then just charge you for those days when you're abroad. And so what we've done there is the alternative thing we could have done is said, well, we know you want to buy insurance. Here's 10 different insurance policies, like take your pick, compete on price, maybe a bit on coverage. We've taken a different approach and we said, we know broadly what we think our customers want, but we're going to do it in a way that really like pushes insurance and hopefully in doing so sell quite a few of these policies.
Obviously, some banks are taking the opposite approach, some digital banks, which is to provide a plethora of options and let customers choose. But we'll come back to that in a minute. Just to round off the introductions, could you possibly also give us an overview of Revolut for Business? Because that's a more recent addition to the app, I believe, launched sort of 6 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, so Revolut for Business was launched 9 months ago. And about a year ago, or 2 years ago, people started to use the Revolut app, and the feedback was great. And particularly from people who moved money internationally with their businesses, they're saying, this is crazy. My bank's charging me 2% or 1-2% to move my money around. I'm sending large volumes of money between currencies. Why don't you launch a business bank that uses the same fundamental principles? So that's kind of where Revolut for Business came from. It's a web-based app. So it's slightly different in its execution, but it's designed for small businesses, and it's designed to kind of completely eliminate the fees with cross-border transactions, and to also make life significantly easier for those businesses.
And in true Revolut fashion, after a month or so, you had sort of 16,000 businesses signed up, I think. Can you provide an update now?
Yeah, there's huge amounts of demand, which was great. The biggest challenge for us so far, which is a good challenge to have, is been working through that kind of backlog of customers and scaling our team quick enough so that we can meet those customers onboarding. So yeah.
Could you just run us through the pricing quickly? Because there are a number of different options, aren't there?
Yeah, so it's fun. So the way we price is on a flat fee. So the basic product for business is £25 a month. And when you tell a lot of businesses that, the first reaction is, well, HSBC doesn't charge me £25 a month. Why should I pay you? But when you start to then dig into the fact that we don't apply any transactional fees, any cross-border fees, etc., you really don't need to be putting much volume through the account for it to pay off. And if you're putting large volume through the account, it pay off many, many times over.
Is it easy to make that case to businesses, have you found?
If you sit down and explain it, for a while, then I think it is. I think one of the things what I've found is that people actually aren't aware of the charges necessarily that banks are charging them to do things. Maybe FX, they have an idea because they can see the spread, but with per transactional fees and card fees, people really aren't aware. So there's an education piece there, and I think that's something we're just starting to get to grips with as a business, is learning to educate people around that.
And we've obviously seen a number of integrations on the consumer-facing app in this marketplace of yours. Will there be similar integrations coming on the business side? Do you have a marketplace at the moment on the business side?
Yeah, so on the retail side, as hopefully there are a few Revolut users in here, you will have seen we have a number of products like insurance. We launched crypto just for Christmas. We've got device insurance as well, and we've got a bunch of other wealth products coming, but they're very much single integrations with a given partner. On the business side, we're taking a slightly different approach, and kind of excited to announce we'll be launching something called Revolut Connect in the next couple of months, and this will be essentially a kind of marketplace where you'll be able to connect different services to your Revolut for Business account in order to automate your money management. So examples of this will be easily be able to connect up your accounting software into it, kind of whoever your accounting software is with. There'll be solutions for spend categorization, payroll solutions, ways of being able to link it with, say, Slack or with Trello, and really basically with the fundamental aim of making the business bank account kind of automate the connections with all the other services that young businesses use. So with Revolut for Business, we're going to have a really, hopefully a real thriving kind of marketplace for that.
And why the difference in sort of approach for the business-facing service? Why choose to have multiple different services in each different vertical?
I think that's a good question. I think part of that is that we acknowledge that with Revolut for Business in different markets, you have different preferred. Basically, the number of vendors that you have offering these services is huge on the business side, and not something we could really ever replicate ourselves unless there's just so much out there. And when we've launched our open API a couple of months ago, what we found is we had tons of these businesses coming to us and saying, we want to build on your API. Can you feature us somehow so that, the customer can click through and link up their integration with Free Agent or Zero or whatever in a couple of clicks, just through us building on your API. So we started to say yes, and what we're seeing is is that's really taking off. So it's as much led by that as anything else.
So it would be too restrictive to pick one accountancy package to work with or something like that.
Yeah, that's what we don't want. Whereas, yeah, exactly. Whereas we feel that, say, with insurance, retail insurance is really all quite similar. But we feel that we can, so there's enough for us to be able to digest and do with one partner and actually make a much better product.
And so just slightly off the business topic for a second. So how do you go about selecting that one partner in the consumer-facing app? Because there's a plethora of options out there in the fintech space. For example, in consumer credit, you've gone with P2P lender, Lending Works, who we know who'll be speaking here later today. What's the key in making that decision?
I think the real key is finding someone who's aligned with our view that we want to create an innovative, exciting product. So to jump back to insurance again, which I know quite well, so that's why I keep doing that. We work with Whitehorse, who are a subsidiary of Thomas Cook, and they internally decided we want to be an innovative player in insurtech. That's their aim. And so when we started speaking to them, they were immediately aligned with the idea of doing a pay-per-day travel insurance. They thought it was great. It was exactly how they wanted to do it, and that made the conversations much easier. What we find more difficult is when we speak to much bigger established players and they say, but no one offers a pay-per-day in travel insurance today, so why would we? And so that becomes, that drives a lot of it, who it is, who's kind of like wants to work with us and who shares our vision.
And on the sort of the integrations more generally across both the business and the consumer-facing services, will this reliance on sort of third parties, on partners, do you think that will be a long-term thing, or are you going to continue to rely on integrations, or is the plan to begin building some of these services in-house?
So we'll definitely continue to rely heavily on our partners in offering our products, both our kind of customer-facing ones, but obviously both our core products, which maybe our customers don't see who we're partnering with to be able to offer them. I don't think there's any fintech out there who's just purely working by themselves without integrations to make their product happen. In taking the example again of insurance, we need to work with an underwriter. We're not about to suddenly start underwriting our own insurance. That would be, I think, biting off more than we can chew at this stage. But that said, as we grow as a business, we're hiring people who do have expertise in these areas. So, for example, we now have a SME underwriting team who is purely focused on issuing SME credit. And we have an insurance team which is now specifically focused on insurance. So I think as we grow, you'll see some more of it come in-house, but by no means are we suddenly going to be underwriting our own insurance and kind of like, completely closing off to our partners.
But on the lending side, then it sounds as though you are planning to build your own business lending operation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're essentially a bank. We have a huge amount of data on our customers, and we think we think that a lot of our customers are underserved in the credit market today, and there's something we can do there. So yeah, I think we will.
Interesting. And biting off more than you can chew is not something you often hear from Revolut, but and on the marketing side, you often hear about these marketplaces that the amount of data that digital banks have on their customers means that they're able to very intelligently market products to them in a way that is different to how perhaps traditional banks might have, and is more based on consumer value or in this case business value. Do you have plans for how you're going to be pushing products in that Revolut Connect that you mentioned?
Absolutely. I mean, across the whole business, the kind of we're trying to find innovative ways to market our products. So. Again, on with our insurance product, we market it based on your geolocation, partly. So if a customer walks into an airport today, with various rules in place, they will receive a push notification saying, "Going abroad, have you got your travel insurance yet?" Because we know a lot of people get to the airport, panic, and that's why you see those kiosks in an airport terminal charging you 20 quid to get insured a day. So we're using, we do things like that. We have other, when you buy a new device, we can tell that the device is upgraded, and so we can market to you then about our device insurance. So yeah, we're really trying to kind of push those products. When it comes to Revolut Connect, which will be more this marketplace for business products, we'll have to be a bit more careful about exactly which of the products we push, because obviously we'll have multiple of the similar products. So yeah, we'll have to think about that there. But in general, the success of our products and our partners' products it's all combined. It's all one thing. So yeah.
And I suppose we've seen this in fintech business lending already with some of the companies that are here today, such as Market Invoice. But is it possible that you could use some of those accountancy package integrations to help your business users identify areas in their cash flow where they might be sort of constrained and might be able to make use of a loan from Revolut or something like that? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all that goes without saying. We'll be doing that. Yeah.
And on open banking, do you feel that the transactional data that will open up access to for any number of firms, do you feel that could enrich the sort of the quality of those recommendations?
So I think everyone now agrees that it will dramatically change how finance is offered, and will have a big impact on the sector. I'm not aware of anyone who knows exactly how this is going to play out and exactly how it's going to work. I'd be interested to talk to anyone who does. So I think at this stage, we're ready for it. We've got a strategy internally, but while the big banks still, we don't have open APIs yet with them. So I think until some of the kind of fundamental building blocks are in place, it's a bit unclear exactly how it's going to look. But I think for a lot of the businesses here, and for businesses like Revolut, there's going to be a huge opportunity to leverage that and move quickly to kind of really deliver something new and exciting.
Do you have any kind of timeline for, I'm sure you do, but do you have a timeline that you can share where within which you might have launched sort of practical products that are practical use cases of making use of open banking data?
Because it's so reliant on the technology of other banks, at the moment we don't. I think once we actually have this network of APIs and all the data is available, then suddenly we'll be able to move very quickly on it. But until that happens, I don't think we can say.
And in a marketplace for a neobank such as Revolut Connect, could you just explain for us how the revenue model works? Because it's often been said that marketplaces such as Revolut Connect will be key to the business models of digital banks like yourselves.
Yeah, so at least initially we have no plans to charge for it. We see it as basically something that's going to happen in the industry anyway, this connected bank, and we see it as a way which we can very quickly kind of get ahead of our competition, I guess, and not have to charge for it. I mean, it doesn't really cost us anything to do it, so we just see it as something that will basically enable us to win over the established banks quite quickly.
Okay, great. Slightly off topic again from Revolut for Business, but I was hoping you could just explain a little bit about the cryptocurrency trading service that was launched towards the end of last year, what it is, what the rationale was for doing it.
Sure. So as anyone who uses Revolut will know, you can exchange money between currencies at the interbank rate, which is great for anyone who travels around the world or sends money around the world. But it's also, and within the app, you can see the different currencies and you can very easily do it. What's really cool about the crypto integration is you can do exactly the same, but just into cryptocurrencies. So you can exchange in real time money into Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, and it's super simple to do. And so that's what it is. To tell you about how it came about, there's a huge amount of demand in general for people to invest in alternative asset classes, and in particular in crypto. The last couple of years, obviously, it's gone up tons. So we saw huge demand, and the current solutions are incredibly burdensome and expensive. And we basically tried to solve that by saying it's already included in the app, so you can just buy it, and we're only going to charge you 1.5 basis points not 1.5 basis points, 1.5% in order to move in and out. So we basically made it significantly cheaper and significantly easier to do. And the take-up rate for it was huge.
Can I just ask, do you share? I've been pestering your comms team about the take-up and trying to get them to share some sort of volume data. I don't know if they're ready to yet, but are you able to comment on that?
I can't share any specific data. I can just say there's huge amounts of demand, and can also say we made an exclusive benefit for our premium product, and it had really positive effect on our premium acquisition as well, customers. So but I can't share any specific numbers.
Fair enough. Is there any concern in the business about making the process of buying in and out of cryptocurrencies easier? Because that frankly is what the service is doing, is making it easier. Or do you not feel that it's your place to sort of comment on that?
Yeah, there's lots of different asset classes out there. There's gold, there's funds, there's ETFs, there's all these things, and people aren't too concerned that you can go and buy gold if you want, which can also go up and down and doesn't really have much intrinsic value. And people can also go and trade stocks and shares, and they can also go up and down, and people don't worry about that. I mean, I think we see it as an alternative asset class. I think it's gained credibility in the last couple of years, maybe not universally, but it's certainly getting there. And so I think we see it as just one of a number of asset classes which we're going to bring onto the platform to make it much easier for people to invest. So no, it's not something we're worried about.
Okay, great. I'm going to cast aside my notepad and just turn and look at some of these questions because I think quite a few have come in. So how about from A Stranger? Who is Revolut's most important competitor?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we're in an interesting position in that we sit between a number of our competitors. So on one hand, we have competitors like Monzo, Tandem, Starling, who obviously compete in the kind of neobank space largely for domestic day-to-day spending, being your everyday bank account, and I think we compete in that space. Increasingly, when we first started, people saw us as a travel card. Increasingly, we're now just a neobank. We operate basically as a bank. So in one sense, we sit in that category. In another one, there's then the category of kind of TransferWise and a bunch of other FX players who is more of an FX play, and I think we also compete in there for obvious reasons as well. So I would say it's kind of somewhere between those two are kind of main competitors.
Okay, great. I think the top two are particularly interesting. Would you like to choose one of those, James, between sort of integrations and what percentage use Revolut on a sort of a sporadic basis when they go abroad versus fully replacing a
Sure.
banking service, I suppose?
So I'll answer, what percentage of Revolut customers use Revolut pay per day versus when they're on a holiday or biz travel? So the take-up rate of pay per day versus an annual contract, which is the best comparison, pay per day blows it out the water. The feedback we're getting is that people love the fact that it's flexible. They can manage it throughout the year really easily. They can turn it off if they suddenly get a new job or they can't travel. All these things. People love that flexibility. So it's been really high, the take-up rate. So somewhere 90% or higher, basically, of pay per day versus annual. I can't remember what the other question was. Oh yeah,
the top one.
So I think it's another good question. So we try and approach each problem on a case-by-case basis and try and really solve the problem. So I guess our core product is much more like our own thing, where it was probably something more like, we don't really white label anything, but it's something more akin to a white label where you don't see the providers that sit behind us. Whereas there are other sort of ancillary products like insurance, which we work with an insurer. We bring the brand of the insurer much more to the fore. So I guess that's more of an ancillary product. And we do that because it has trust. We need to work with them, etc. Those are the reasons.
But then just very quickly, because I think we're running short on time, but you have a few partnerships that aren't integrations, don't you? So, For example, I think you have a partnership with a property investment fintech, Brick Lane, is that right? And that's more of just a referral.
Yeah, that's right. So that was something we were trying last year. We're not really pushing that as much anymore, but that was more of a referral basis where we handed people off, and that's because that's not part of our core product at all, and not something we wanted to build internally at that point. So that's how I did.
Right, well, that is all we have time for. But James, thank you very much. That was really interesting. Let's give him a big round of applause.